This is your snack sandwich. Today I'm going to take a quick look at OpenXswap.exchange. Now it's pretty interesting. It's kind of like a Lego that is built on top of Velodrome and Sliz, and it's a solidly Lego basically, and they're basically putting the NFTs to good use. Now the reason why I'm looking at this is because they did approach me at Velocimeter. And we are talking to them, so I figured I'd read the docs. And then now that I've read the docs, I figure it's interesting enough, it's unique enough that I should share some of the concepts in there. As usual, I will encourage you to come and read the docs yourself. They're not completely clear, like they're very simplified. Like there's not a lot to read, so you can read them in quite a bit of time, or quite a little time. So I would suggest you to do so. You can check out their Twitter and so forth. Like I said, read their docs. But I do have a flow chart for you to explain how I believe this thing works. I did take a little bit of guessing here because I don't, as you can see, I haven't even connected my wallet yet and started playing with it, but I'm just going to explain to you how I understand this thing based on what I read in the docs. Okay, so let's move over to the flow chart now. If you would like to support the channel, I would suggest you to check out the secretsandwich.xyz. It's the Secret Sandwich NFT project. You can come here, you can mint an NFT, or you can come and check out your NFTs. Okay, so let's get back to it. Okay, so here we are on the flowchart. We have Dollar Bill. Dollar Bill wants to play this OpenXswap game, and he wants to take advantage of the utility or the options that are there. Okay, so let's kind of swing in here first. So let's first talk a little bit about Solidly and these different exchanges that are out and about. So the first thing he has is he has some ETH and some USDC in this case, but it could be any two tokens, right? And he's going to provide liquidity to one of these exchanges. This is Velodrome, Sliz, and this is a Velocimeter. Now, the reason why he provides liquidity is because he's rewarded in the token of that protocol. So in this case, Velo, Sliz, and Flow for Velocimeter, okay? So now why does he want these tokens? One of the things he can do with these tokens, of course, he can sell them, right? As most people do, but there's the opportunity to play the game as it's intended. And that is to take your tokens and lock them into an NFT. Now, this NFT is transferable. You could sell it if you wanted, but the main purpose of this NFT is to allow you to direct votes. So you will vote on the gauges. So let's say he has this pool and he's locked some NFT, some flow into this NFT, and he's most likely going to use his voting power to direct emissions to this pool so that he can get more emissions on it, right? So that's the kind of the basic idea. However, when you do vote on these pools, you are bribed. You get bribes, okay? And it depends on the protocol itself, but in most cases, you get the fees as well as any kind of protocol bribe. So if you're voting on another protocol's LP, they might have put their own token as bribes there as well. Or there might be some sort of gas sharing or something like this. So there's usually some bribes that ask voters to vote on individual pools. So he puts his LP in there, he gets some flow, he locks the flow, he uses the flow locked to vote on the pools he likes, and he gets bribes because he votes on it. Now, additionally, depending on the protocol, each protocol has a different number, but for the most case, they all have inflation rebases. And what that means is every time new Flow or Sliz or Velo is minted for the gauges for the LP rewards, then another amount is also minted and given to the VE holders, the NFT holders. So it depends on the percentage, but let's say 30%. So 100%, maybe 100 tokens is minted for the rewards, and another 30 is minted and given to the NFT holders, and then they can basically they're not inflating themselves too badly, okay. And you have to check each protocol. Each protocol will have different settings for this inflation bonus or inflation rebase. Okay, moving on. So in comes OpenX. Okay, OpenXswap kind of sits in the middle between Dollar Bill and these protocols. And what does it do? So what they ask you to do is, instead of you locking your reward tokens, they say you can give it to them and they will give you a OpenX. They call it, in this case, it would be OPXVE Velo. Okay, so you've given them some Velo and you're going to get this OpenX VE Velo token, okay? And you get them 1-to-1. So 1 Velo in, you get 1 of those tokens out, but they are non-redeemable. You can't go back through the system. There's a different way to exit, but it's not back through the same way you came in. So 1-to-1. So what do they do with the Velo that they got? So they do several things with it, but let's say for now, that the first time they got some Velo, they take it and they lock it for a VE flow or VE NFT, right? So they get an NFT themselves. And then they use that NFT to vote as, as I described down here, for the bribes. And then those bribes are basically collected into this bucket. Now remember, these bribes can also include the trading fees of this LP, right? Of the LP that they voted on, okay? So it's usually bribes and trading fees, but like in Velocimeter, we just put the trading fees with the bribes as well, okay? So moving on. So what does this bucket do with these? So some percentage of it. It doesn't say. It says they don't hard code a percentage because they want to adjust this percent all the time. But because the bribes are unpredictable, right? So they'll take some of these bribes, right, out of this bucket, and they will use it to incentivize stakers of this token. So you mint the token and then you stake it, and you get back. They use these bribes to do all kinds of things. Now, this is where I'm not exactly 100% sure. So I know that you have the possibility of getting more of this like OPXVE Velo, as well as their own governance token. Okay, this OPX governance token. OpenX governance token. Okay, now they do talk in the docs that they are still inflating this token, so this token still has inflation emissions, so it's increasing in supply. So they might not be buying these right now with this bucket, but they might buy some of them. I am not exactly sure. So what could happen with this bucket is they could take them, buy Velo, use the Velo to mint more of these tokens and give it to them, and then just add inflation of this OpenX token, or they could use some of this bucket to also buy OpenX tokens as well and put them on there. This is where I'm not 100% sure what's going on, okay? But you do probably get both of these as rewards for staking. And your APR is not bad. It's, around 80 to 80%-ish, okay? Which is pretty good on Velodrome, okay? So that's what the bucket's being used for first. Now the bucket's also being used to produce protocol-owned liquidity of this token and the Velo token on Velodrome. Now, why do they do this? It's so that people can exit if they want to, okay? So the people who have staked here, if they want to, they can unstake, and then they can sell it for Velo. And then if they want rid of the Velo, they can also sell that for something else in the future, whatever they feel they would like to sell it for, right? Now, keep in mind that these have rebases on them, okay? So every time there's Velo minted, then all the NFTs do get a small rebase as well. Now, this helps them to not drain the bucket. The bucket doesn't need to lock more Velo than the Velo that was put in, because it just needs to remain 1-to-1. So every time there's a rebase, there's actually less need for them to lock more. Because if, let's say 100 comes in, 100 gets locked, right? And then there's a rebase. Now there's 110 in here, right? And someone comes along with 30. Then they don't need to lock all 30 because there's already a surplus of 10 in here. So that's interesting, right? So the rebase allows them to use some of those tokens that are used to mint to go into the bucket, okay? Now, so the bucket, I said, provides liquidity, right? So some of it will be used as Velo, some of it will be used as this OpenX Velo token, and they can use it to create liquidity pools on Velodrome. Now, when they stake those liquidity pools into Velodrome, right, then they earn more Velo, and that Velo can then be added to the bucket to, again, incentivize these or create more protocol-owned liquidity, okay? Now, the last thing I'm going to mention is that Solid Lizard also has NFT boosts. So when you hold an NFT, then you also get boosted rewards. So they also have this benefit on OpenX when they are interacting with Sliz exactly. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this. I hope this has been useful and interesting. I found it to be pretty cool, and I am seriously considering it for our Velocimeter project. Okay, so thanks so much for watching, and goodbye.